Pikes Peak, also known as America's Mountain, is an iconic landmark in America's history. The 14,115-foot mountain has a history dating back to November 1806, when Lieutenant Zebulon Pikes first saw the, quote, Great White Mountain. Its history includes not only the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb, but also the Bloomer Girl, Julia Archibald Holmes, the inspiration for Catherine Lee Bates' infamous America the Beautiful. I got a chance to catch up with Ranger Kent Cheney to find out what makes Pikes Peak so memorable. So Kent, tell us some of the things people like to see and some of the things they get to experience.
One of the amazing things about Pikes Peak, as opposed to all the other mountains in Colorado, is that the foot of Pikes Peak actually rests on the plains. And so you end up having all the different ecosystems that are represented in Colorado, all represented right here on Pikes Peak. You go from the plains in Colorado Springs all the way up to the alpine zone. It's like driving from Kansas to Alaska in about an hour when you come up here. And so you can really experience all the different plants and animals potentially up here on Pikes Peak that you could experience in Colorado.
So what are some of the things they get to see?
Well, if you're really lucky, you could see some animals. About 50% of our people in the summertime, if they take the time to do it, can see bighorn sheep up above tree line. At this time of year, the wildflowers are in full bloom, and it's really spectacular. Lots of different colors along the way.
As a ranger, what's some of your favorite seasons, things to see, things to do just by being a ranger up here?
Oh, that's a really good question. Right now, mid-July, the 3 weeks, it's actually summer up on the tundra, and the tundra goes into full bloom, and I think that's just absolutely amazing. There's color everywhere. The mountain right behind me, during the fall, all the lighter green on it is aspen trees, and they will change colors into golds, reds, and oranges, and that's absolutely spectacular. We are open to the summit year-round on Pikes Peak, weather permitting. And actually the best distance views from the top of the mountain, midwinter, when there's less water vapor in the air. Okay. So if you ever get an opportunity to come up in the middle of the winter, it is absolutely spectacular. It's like looking right off the edge of the earth from up on top of Pikes Peak.
What are some safety tips and then travel tips you like to give people just to be aware of, because it's different?
Well, and that is correct. It is said that you lose about a quart of water out of our bodies driving up to the top of Pikes Peak. And we need to put that back in, or else you can get what's called a dehydration headache, which is very uncomfortable.
There's no arguing the beauty of Pikes Peak. This trek up here is absolutely magnificent. However, when you come up here, you should also remember there are some regular weather patterns, especially in the afternoons. So while you may start out sunny and warm, it can easily cool off and you get dark clouds, so beware.
The weather is very different at the top of the mountain than it is at the bottom of the mountain. In the summertime, almost every afternoon we get thunderstorms. And accompanying these thunderstorms, of course, is lightning. And when you're above tree line, lightning can be quite dangerous. So we do recommend people to come earlier in the day, especially if you're on a motorcycle, when it's summertime on Pikes Peak.
So you guys do some outreach with people and visitors here, don't you?
Absolutely. One of the greatest things about working on Pikes Peak is that we get to meet people from not just all over our country, but from around the world that come here to visit this mountain. And we'd like to be able to talk and communicate with every last one of them. So we have a couple of programs, one for the kids, the Junior Ranger program, coloring book, crayons, and a badge that they can put on. They can be sworn in and signed off by a ranger while they're up here. The Meet the Ranger program is a way that we can try to have stations along the mountain where a ranger will be at a certain time so that we can then meet those guests.
So let's also talk about the Summit Complex. The one that you have now, it's getting kind of old, right?
Yeah, what we call the Summit House, the shelter up on top of the mountain. It functions as a gift shop, visitor center. It is now more than 50 years old, and it's showing signs of aging. It wasn't many years after they put it in that they discovered that the permafrost up on the summit was melting underneath the building, and they had to start jacking it up to keep it more or less level. And so we are trying to build a new building up on top of Pikes Peak, which should be quite spectacular when it's finished.
It was a day back in 1893 after visiting Pikes Peak that Catherine Lee Bates decided to write the words to the song, America the Beautiful. And after being up here even today, you can see why this view inspired such a song.
For more great Discover Colorado travel destination ideas, visit AAA.com/stories and check out the latest edition of AAA Colorado's Encompass magazine.